good, YouTube? Today we're gonna be looking at the failed death row executions. Yup, apparently governments even be failing at ending people. We're gonna see how terrible these went. Without further ado, let's get started.
Alright, let's talk about some death row executions that failed horribly.
Let's go.
The first execution is one that failed because the executioner was too drunk.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding, but before—
Wait, isn't the only thing you have to do when someone is on death row just flip a button, especially if they're on an electric chair? How do you mess that up?
Before we get there, let me first give you some background information on the situation.
Okay.
This is Willie Francis, and in 1945, he was charged with the murder of a drugstore owner in St. Martinville, Louisiana.
Damn.
Just a quick side note, Willie was just 16 years old when he murdered the store owner.
At 16, in probably one of the most racist periods of America, I'm not gonna lie, I don't believe this, so RIP him. Damn.
Kind of crazy, don't you think? What's even crazier is that this murder actually went unsolved for 9 straight months.
Damn.
Until Francis got himself detained for, get this, public drunkenness.
Huh?
Yes, he only got himself caught for murder because he had a little bit too much to drink.
Okay, so none of y'all saw any information outside, huh? Nobody was like, oh, hold on. Like, we see evidence connected to what you got going. Y'all just wanted someone to blame. Let's be real.
How did the cops connect Willie to the murder? Well, because apparently on the day he was detained, you know, for public drunkenness, he was carrying the wallet of the drugstore owner in his damn pocket.
Ooh.
I mean, if you're gonna kill a man, at least hide the evidence. Gosh.
Damn.
Anyways, Francis didn't have a good reason for having the dead man's wallet, so he eventually confessed to the murder of the store owner in writing after being interrogated by the police for hours on end.
Damn.
Not only that, but he showed the cops where he disposed the holster of the murder weapon.
Ooh, okay, so he did do it. But look, there be 16-year-olds that be emptying whole schools, and the most y'all do is, oh, well, he was mentally ill. Come on, bruh.
Alright, here's where the story starts to get a little bit interesting. Because despite there being 2 separate written confessions of Willie admitting guilt, and the police now having the holster of the damn murder weapon, Willie pleaded not guilty to murder in court. Yeah, this guy seems like he wasn't thinking many things through.
Okay.
And like you would expect, the poor kid was convicted of murder.
Damn.
And he somehow got sentenced to death by the electric chair despite only being 16 years old.
How much wires do y'all need? Like, how much electricity bolts does it take to actually fry someone up?
Like, isn't a 16-year-old being put to death, like, kind of harsh?
Crazy,
or, like,
yes.
too far? I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
Anyways, back to the main plot. Willie Francis was set to die on May 3rd, 1946.
Damn.
And on the day of his execution, Willie was strapped onto the gruesome Gertie, which, by the way, was the nickname death row inmates in Louisiana gave to the chair.
Why did y'all have to name it like such a nerdish name? Why didn't y'all call it like the Death Megatron 5000 Electro Blaster? I guarantee you, people are gonna be more afraid to be on death row. Oh, you're gonna hop on the gruesome Gertie. That seems like some sort of roller coaster ride from Six Flags.
The lethal surge of electricity was then administered. According to some witnesses, Willie was yelling things like, "Take it off and let me breathe."
Damn.
So it sounds like the kid was about to die, right? Well, this is where everything went completely wrong.
What?
Because apparently, the electric chair was set up incorrectly. How was it set up incorrectly? Well, the 2 executioners that were supposed to administer the surge were completely hammered that night.
Damn.
Yes, I mean, according to some sources, they were drunk. And get this, because Willie was still breathing minutes later, one of the executioners yelled at him saying, hold on, let me get the direct quote. "I missed you this time, but I'll get you next week, even if I have to use a rock." I don't really know how this is exactly legal, but—
Hold on, wait, so why did y'all wait a week? You're like, that was all the electricity volts we had. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the electricity bill going crazy with this one.
But somehow this whole thing was allowed. After the complete failure of this execution, Francis and his lawyers immediately tried to get himself released.
Damn,
because
good.
I mean, getting executed a second time's kind of cruel and unusual punishment, isn't it? Well, apparently not, because the Supreme Court sent him right back to the slam, despite the executioner's huge screw-up and even being threatened by one of them. And just 1 year later, Willie was put to death by the good old gruesome Gertie. Now, how can you mess up a death row execution more than that? Well, let me tell you about the execution of William Kemmler because, dude, it's low-key hilarious.
Okay.
Considering
Damn, that's one way to describe it.
the executioners were guided through the whole process by William himself.
Huh?
Yes, William helped his own executioners kill him. Let me explain. The whole story starts way back in 1890.
Oh, hell, that's basically assisted suicide. Dude, are you good?
When William was convicted for the violent murder of his wife with a hatchet.
Damn,
and
RIP.
was then sentenced to death by the electric chair.
Okay.
Want to know a fun fact? William was actually the first person ever to be executed by the electric chair. So in a sick, kind of twisted way, I guess it's kind of an honor, right?
So were you just that experimental? You were like, I wonder how it feels to get electrocuted. Let me be the first one. Like, how are you that adventurous? Who knows if he even murdered for that reason?
Funny about this whole thing is that the executioners were actually the ones that were nervous about the execution.
Damn.
Not William Kemmler. Yeah, and to ease their nervousness, William would assist them in restraining himself. Yes, he helped them tie him up. Not only that, but he then tried to comfort the executioners by telling them, wait, let me get the exact quote. Take your time, don't be in a hurry, do it well, and make sure everything is all right.
Okay. Clearly you're more excited of death than life. It's almost like this man probably told the police after he murdered his wife. Bro, are you good?
Like, imagine that you're about to die and you're encouraging your killers to kill you.
Literally.
Good Lord. The warden actually replied to William, letting him know that it wouldn't hurt at all. But let's be so for real for a second, it's 1890. Anyways, when everything was set up and ready for the execution, the flip was switched and William's body went stiff, with 1,700 volts shooting right through him. After just 10 seconds, William was declared dead and everybody was ready to pack up. So at this point, how could anything possibly go wrong? I mean, the man was literally declared dead.
Literally.
Well, while the prison warden and the doctors were packing up the gear that was used, one of the doctors noticed that William's hand was actually bleeding. And for anyone that doesn't know this already, if your body is still bleeding, it literally means that your heart is still pumping, which in this case meant that William was in fact still alive. Which is so funny because these guys were already worried about messing up and they actually did. So the warden—
What makes people think electrocution is the best way to just end somebody, huh? Like, why couldn't y'all just administer something much more fast and like less painful? Because this is not as quick as people probably think it is.
And obviously started to panic and he quickly yelled at the executioners to administer another electric current to finish the job.
Damn.
Which I don't know if that's exactly legal, but hey, I mean, I guess the man was supposed to be dead already, right?
Yep.
But here's where things get even worse. William actually started to groan and mumble, and it started to become very clear to everyone in the room that he was beginning to regain full consciousness.
Wait, so that second round actually just woke him up? Y'all using defibrillators to wake people up? Cleared. Like, damn.
I mean, what do you think they should have done? Let him live or just killed him? Well, whatever you think should have happened, the extra voltage eventually fried William and he was actually dead this time.
Damn.
Oh, and I forgot to mention that it was also reported that they heard sizzling coming from William's body as if the flesh was literally being cooked alive. It's almost like they wanted William to suffer. But somehow, I still think that this next story is more messed up than getting your skin fried off.
What's up?
So let me tell you about the death row execution of Robert Breen. The reason this story is so fun to me is because Robert actually wanted to die, and the prison wouldn't let him. Yeah, it'll all make sense in about 1 minute. Basically, how the story goes is that during one night in 1983,
what did he do?
Elizabeth Stubbs was found dead on her living room floor with a bullet right through the middle of her forehead.
Damn.
Then Breen was found just a block away with blood in the back of his pickup truck, alongside his bloody gloves and a .22 caliber rifle that was used to murder Miss Stubbs. Anyways, what's kind of interesting is that Robert was actually only set to be executed more than 12 years after the original murder in 1995. Anyways, for anyone that's curious, he was set to die by lethal injection at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary.
I feel like lethal injection is like the easier way to go out. I'd rather that than actually get my brains electrocuted and actually pass out that way.
Here's where things start to get a little bit messy. 7:45 on the day Robert was supposed to be executed, he ingested a large quantity of sedatives that left him unconscious in his cell.
So you didn't wait to do that 12 years earlier on the day of execution? Isn't that not a little too late, buddy? Yo, the pills are probably more painful than injection, but I don't understand. So you wanted to live all that time, but you're like, yeah, I'm gonna pass today. Let me just make it sooner.
How did no one notice, you're probably wondering? Well, the guards thought that he was just taking a nap until at 9 p.m. the same prison guards tried to wake him up so he could take his last ever shower, but he wasn't responding. Yeah, he tried to unalive himself by overdosing on the sedatives.
Damn.
So at this point, it looked like Robert...
Wait, so who gave him all those pills before he was about to be executed? There is no way that the police officers there are selling these people perks. There's no way y'all are doing this, bro. Come on, they can't get lit and die at the same time.
Robert was gonna die by an overdose hours before he was supposed to die by lethal injection. Do you think that the US legal system A, let him die by an overdose, or B, resuscitated him so that he could be killed just a few hours later?
I think they let him die. I don't know, maybe he probably has some information that could have just leaked a lot of people.
Well, if you chose B, you would be correct. Because when he was taken to the hospital, his stomach was pumped, saving his life. And for anyone that's curious, the reason they forced him to stay alive was because there was a ruling by the Supreme Court in 1986 that stated that the condemned must be aware of his or her execution and why they're being executed. But anyways, after Breen regained full consciousness, he was then returned to the prison, where the execution that was originally set for midnight was then taking place at 1:55 a.m.
I'm sorry, if I'm the victims, I don't think I'm gonna wake up 1:55 to see the person who ended anyone that I know die or get electrocuted. That is way too late, bro. Y'all gotta do it earlier in the morning so we can get through with it.
He was strapped to a gurney and was administered the lethal injection. Something that you may find interesting here is that Robert's final words were not heard by any of the witnesses. Because apparently the sound system was broken, even though it's never been broken in any execution in the past. Yeah, and Robert Breen was pronounced dead. Again. Next, we have the failed execution of Doyle Lee Ham. What's so awesome about this case is that Doyle almost died from getting stabbed by the needles rather than the lethal injection itself. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
What? Clearly he's dead now, so he can't get any money from the government, but that can't be legal, bro. Y'all basically just stabbed him to death. At this point, y'all wanted him to feel pain.
Here, what did Doyle exactly do to deserve the death penalty?
What?
Well, in 1987, he murdered a hotel worker named Patrick Cunningham, who was working as a night clerk at a motel in Cullman, Alabama, was shot in the head during a robbery that Ham carried out himself.
What could you possibly steal from a hotel clerk? Oh, bro, let me stay this week or else I'm gonna have to end you. Like, huh?
And guys, get this. Ham robbed the motel for $410 damn dollars. Yeah, way to go, rich guy.
You robbed a hotel clerk for less than a third of rent nowadays? There's no way. Like, if you're gonna crash out over money, at least let it be an amount of money that will make you rich forever. Not no 400.
Quick side note, the murder was a part of the robbery, making it a capital offense under Alabama law, which is where he was then sentenced to death by lethal injection. One problem though, Ham had a history of drug use and was also treated for cancer before. Which basically meant that his arms would not be able to have needles inserted to deliver the lethal drugs.
So let me get this straight. You were suffering with something as terrible as cancer, but instead of healing, you were like, let me add someone else real quick. How that make sense? I don't even think 400 is enough for chemotherapy nowadays.
So what did they decide to do? Use his legs instead. Yippee! Yep, he wasn't getting out of this one. When the time came for Ham to die, the IV team spread both of Ham's legs wide open. Whoa, pause. Basically, they were looking for a vein that they could stab with the needle, and unfortunately, they couldn't find it. But that didn't stop them, because they continued to just stab Ham in the leg. And when it didn't work, they smashed the needles into his groin. It's the place right above your
no. You cannot get the little man downstairs, bro. If you gonna end someone, just end them immediately. Imagine if your meat hurt for that long while getting executed.
Even that wasn't safe because it was believed that he was also stabbed in his bladder from all the blood that was spewing out of him. Yeah, these dudes really took a needle to his little John. Ouch. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the execution actually had a deadline, which was midnight. So the doctors were trying their best to end the man's life, but they were just useless.
How does that even work? Oh my gosh, John. We got 5 more minutes. Just keep poking him, bro. We gotta find a vein or else he gonna survive. Who even made that rule that it has to be by 12?
Because after many hours of trying to administer the lethal dose, Ham was still breathing. But we love a team who doesn't give up, because even when the clock hit midnight, the doctors were still trying to inject Ham, which is illegal, by the way. But this time, they were trying to inject him through his feet. No, the doctors were so dedicated that the prison officials literally had to drag the man out of the room for them to stop. Now, the real question is, will Ham be saved by the justice system or end up like our friends from earlier in the video? Before I answer that though, a medical exam of Ham after the failed execution documented a number of puncture wounds, as well as really bad bruising in his lower area. It was so bad that Ham reported that he's been urinating blood since his execution.
Okay, at this point, give this man the guillotine, because I feel like the fact that y'all are letting him live, cough, pee, poo, all that stuff, just end it for the poor man, bruh.
And with that, the state decided in March 2018 that there would be no further execution attempt, and he would remain incarcerated for the rest of his life.
Oh!
Now, if you thought that execution...
I mean, either way, no, bruh. I feel like at that point, you might as well just ask for them to end you. Your meat don't work no more.
couldn't get any more ruthless than jamming needles into your bladder, let me tell you about George Painter, the convict who was hung up by a noose. Not once, but twice. Basically, way back in 1890.
Wait, how did he survive the first time? I'm not gonna lie, the only way I could see him actually surviving is if his neck has the circumference of something like this. Other than that, it don't even make sense.
It was said that George strangled his own girlfriend and beat her head against a bedpost until she was dead. Ouch.
Damn,
Multiple eyewitnesses even came forward to defend Painter and his innocence. What I didn't tell you yet was the eyewitnesses were actually paid individuals to provide fake testimonies. Yep, this man really paid people to lie for him on the stand.
Damn.
This doesn't exactly sound like a man who was innocent, but like you would expect, the witnesses were dismissed for being unreliable.
Good.
Did you really think our man George didn't have a backup plan here? Because before he was caught, George attempted to make the whole crime scene look like a burglary. How did he do that, you're probably wondering? Well, he pulled down his girlfriend's left sock and put money into it.
What?
You stupid boxhead. How does that make it look like a burglary?
If anything, you would think the person who burglarized her would steal the money.
Well, back in the day, hiding money in your sock was a well-known hiding place for
women.
Okay, so considering it was still up in the air whether George painted the red room or if he was innocent, what did the court decide to do? Well, obviously sentence him to death. Because after serving 3 years in prison, George was transported. He was walked to the gallows for his hanging in the year 1894.
Damn.
Also, a quick side note that his final words before his execution was really him declaring his innocence once again and him confessing his want for the real killer to be found. Alright, hold on.
I'm sorry, if my life is ending because y'all claim that I did something, I don't care what happens anymore. At that point, bro, don't find a killer. Clearly, y'all just hate me.
Just imagine if this guy was actually innocent for
that would be terrible.
After George spoke his piece, a white hood was then placed over his head, his thighs were bound by straps, and a noose was then tied around George's neck. Oh wait, by the way, I forgot to mention that George was standing over a trap door while all this was happening.
Damn.
So when the signal was given, snap! The trapdoor below him swung open and George's body just dropped right through. So how did this execution exactly fail? Well, everyone in the room heard his neck snap, but the doctors confirmed that the man was in fact not dead and that his neck was just broken.
I guess you could say he wasn't really next up. I'm sorry, I know that was really cringy. I just want to remind everyone that I am adopted and nobody loves me. Please forgive me.
You can probably imagine that someone's neck being snapped was not a pretty sight. Well, it was probably really bad because all of the witnesses started losing their minds when the white hood that George was wearing on his head turned fully red because all of the blood that was spewing out of his neck. Anyways, the executioners cut the original rope from his neck and replaced it with a new one. The executioners then picked him back up and sat him on the trap door, where a signal was given for George to fall right through. And his body just plunged and he was finally pronounced dead. That's just a painful way to go. I mean, this whole video made me realize how cruel the death penalty can actually be.
But anyways, YouTube, let me know what you thought was the worst failed death row attempt. I thought all of these were clean, but now that I see villains that weren't clean, these are actually insane. Join us on Discord, catch us on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe, road to 700,000. Waxer for life. Love y'all, and peace.